The silver scissors flashed under the garden lights. In one hard snap, Victoria Hale, known across town as Madame Victoria, the boss lady with diamonds on her wrists and ice in her voice, cut straight through Lena's long, neat braids. The guests at the charity party gasped. Music stopped. A curl of hair fell onto the white marble like a black feather. Lena knelt by the fountain, hands shaking, eyes wide with shock. Victoria gripped a fistful of hair with one hand and the scissors with the other, her smile thin and cruel. "Let's make you less pretty, shall we?" she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. Snip. Another braid fell. Snip. Another. Somebody dropped a glass. It shattered. "Madam, please," whispered the housekeeper, Nora. "People are watching." "I want them to watch," Victoria said, jaw tight. "I warned this little maid never to show off." The mayor's son, who had only smiled politely at Lena a few minutes earlier, froze where he stood. The band didn't know whether to keep playing or stop. The wind stirred the bougainvillea, and petals drifted onto Lena's shoulders like soft pink tears. One of the youngest servers began to cry. A boy in a suit pulled out his phone and started recording. Snip. A last braid fell. Lena's head felt raw and cold. Her breath came out in short puffs. She held herself still, because if she moved, she might cry loud enough to crack the night. Victoria lifted the chopped hair in her hand the way a hunter lifts a trophy, turned toward the crowd with a satisfied nod, and then a voice rose from the steps. Calm, firm, surprising. "Stop," it said. "Don't move." Heads turned toward the voice, and what happened next shocked Victoria so much that her fingers opened by mistake, and the hair fell from her hand and blew into the fountain, where the lights made it look like a dark bird sinking into water. 2 weeks earlier, the morning sun had washed over the big white house on Riverbend Lane. The house had tall windows, tall doors, tall everything. Even the dreams inside it were tall, especially Victoria's. She liked things shiny, perfect, silent. Every flower was the same height. Every cushion sat in the same corner. Every smile from the staff had to be small, tight, and never seen by guests. That was rule number 1. Lena looked up at the house and hugged her small suitcase to her chest. She was 17, with bright, honest eyes and gentle hands that knew how to sweep, fold, stir, and comfort. She had come because Nora, the head housekeeper, said, "We need someone kind. We need you." Lena's mother had smiled and said, "Be a light, my girl. Remember, kindness is a seed. It grows where no one expects." Lena promised she would do her best. On her first day, Lena met everyone. She met Nora, whose voice sounded like warm soup. She met Calvin, the driver, tall and quiet, who hummed to old songs under his breath. She met George the gardener, whose hands were always green. And she met Lily, 8 years old, smart, shy, and often alone, Victoria's only child. Lily stood behind the hallway pillar like a little owl. She stared at Lena's braids. "They look like ropes for a doll's swing," Lily whispered. Lena smiled. "Would you like to touch one?" Lily nodded. She reached with careful fingers and then pulled back, worried. "It's okay," Lena said. "They're strong. Like me." Lily giggled. "Strong like me, too." Her giggle echoed down the hall, small and brave. Victoria's heels clicked across the marble. "Lily," she said, "don't bother the staff." She glanced at Lena, her eyes moving like a cold spoon. "You are new." "Yes, ma'am," Lena said. "I'm Lena. I will work hard." "Work quietly," Victoria said. "And remember, no chatting with guests, no smiles to strangers. You are here to serve, not to be seen." "Yes, ma'am." Lena lowered her eyes, but when Victoria walked away, Lily rolled her eyes and whispered, "Mom likes the house to smile more than people." Lena pressed her lips together to hide a grin. "Maybe we can teach the house to share," she whispered back. That first week was a river of small jobs. Lena set the breakfast table just so. The blue plates, the orange juice, the soft-boiled eggs for Lily, the black coffee for Victoria. She folded towels into neat squares that looked like clouds. She learned where the light switches lived and where the stubborn door that always stuck needed a gentle hip bump to open. She rose before the sun and slept after the stars were tired. Sometimes, after her chores, she sang in the laundry room, soft songs her mother used to sing. Be kind, be strong, be gentle, be long. and the steam from the presses curled around her like clouds listening. Sometimes Lily came and sat on the stool by the ironing board with her homework because she liked Lena's voice. "It makes the room feel warm," Lily said once. "Mom says warmth is messy, but your warm is nice." "Warm helps bread rise," Lena said, smiling. "Warm helps hearts rise too." One afternoon, Lena found an old woman by the back gate, holding a bag of mangoes. The woman's shoes were dusty. "I'm Mrs. Green," she said, wiping her forehead. "The bus dropped me far and the sun is heavy." Lena brought her a chair, a glass of water, and a slice of cool watermelon. "Rest a bit, Mrs. Green. I'll tell George you're here," she said. Mrs. Green, it turned out, was a neighbor who sold fruit from her garden. She had known the house since it was built. "I've seen many people come and go," she told Lena. "The house remembers kindness. It is like a drum. You'll hear it answer back." Lena nodded. She believed it. Kindness was a seed, her mama said, and she planted it every time she smiled, even if she kept the smile small. The first trouble came like a whisper. A guest at a small weekday tea complimented Lena's braids. "Your hair is so beautiful," the guest said, taking a strawberry tart. "Who does it for you?" "I do them myself," Lena said, shy but proud. Victoria's spoon paused in her cup. Just a heartbeat. Then it clinked again. "That will be all, Lena," she said, as if nothing had happened. But Nora saw it. The tiny freeze in the air, the small storm forming behind Victoria's eyes. "Careful," Nora murmured, later in the kitchen. "Madam doesn't like the spotlight to move, even for a second." "I wasn't trying to take it," Lena said softly. "I was just answering. I know, child, but some people see kindness as a mirror. It shows them what they're not ready to see." Lena nodded. She would be more careful. Still, light has its own legs. At the weekend charity party, the house glowed like a jewel. Strings of lights draped the garden. Waiters moved like small rivers. A band played gentle music that made the fountain dance. Important people came. City leaders, business owners, the mayor and his wife, and their son in a navy suit. Victoria moved among them with perfect grace, her dress hugging her like a promise, her diamond earrings catching every light. Lena wore a plain black uniform and soft shoes that didn't make a sound. She carried trays of lemonade and tiny quiches. She stayed at the edges, as taught. But Lily darted to her twice, tugged her sleeve, and whispered small jokes that made Lena bite her lip to keep from laughing out loud. When Lena passed the mayor's son, he looked up with kind eyes. "Thank you," he said. "You kept me from fainting with that lemonade." He grinned in an easy, friendly way. "You're welcome," Lena said. She moved on. It was nothing. A small moment. A small seed. But Victoria saw it. She saw the way the boy had noticed a maid. She saw a smile that wasn't meant for the cameras but was real, like a candle flame in a cave. Jealousy is a quiet thief. It slips in and steals the sense. By the time the band shifted to a brighter song, a decision had already formed in Victoria's mind, sharp as a blade. When Lena came near the fountain with another tray, Victoria stepped in front of her. "Set that down," she said. Her voice carried. The band softened. "Kneel." Lena blinked. "Ma'am?" "Kneel." The word fell like a stone. Lena set the tray on the fountain's edge and lowered herself to the cool marble. Her heart thudded so loudly she could feel it in her throat. The night was now very still. In the corner of her eye, Lena saw Lily halfway to them, confusion on her face, Nora's hand on her shoulder to hold her back. Victoria reached into her clutch and pulled out silver scissors. "You think your hair makes you special?" she said with that thin smile again. "Let's fix that." The first snip split the music. The second snip cut the air. Sometimes when a terrible thing is happening, time stretches. People watch like they are underwater. Sound arrives late. The world moves in slow, painful frames. That is how the guests felt as braid after braid dropped. That is how Lena felt, as if a piece of her story was falling to the ground with every snip. She remembered her mother's hands, how they worked oil through her hair, how they braided in patience and sang in rhythm. She swallowed hard and kept still. She would not give Victoria the gift of her tears. Then came the voice, calm, firm, surprising, from the steps. "Stop, don't move." And Victoria, truly startled for the first time that night, let the hair fall. What happened next shocked her so much that her confidence cracked like thin ice. But before the shock could fully show itself, people began to move again. The moment went blurry with whispers, and the band leader signaled the drummer to keep a gentle beat, as if music could hold the world together while the air decided what to do. After the party, the garden looked like a field after a storm. Petals and napkins, footprints in the damp grass. A single shoe someone forgot. Staff stacked chairs in tired silence. The driver brought the car around. Lena stood by the kitchen door, hugging herself. Her head felt light and strange. She didn't want to see a mirror. She didn't want to see anything. Lily slipped in like a shadow. "Are you okay?" the little girl asked, eyes red. "I'm okay enough," Lena said, trying to smile. "Hair is hair. It grows back. Kind hearts grow too. That matters more." Lily nodded and sniffed. "You still look like sunshine," she whispered. Nora pressed a warm cup of tea into Lena's hands. "Drink," she said. "Sugar helps the shaking." Across the room, Victoria stepped out of her office with fast steps and a face that looked cut from stone. "Pack your things," she said to Lena, every word clipped. "You're done here." Nora blinked. "Madam—" "Do not madam me, Nora. This girl turned my home into a circus. The party was not about her. I will not have a maid who steals attention." "I didn't steal anything," Lena said softly. "I was only working." "You dared to be seen," Victoria said. "Get out." The words hit like cold rain. Lena set the teacup down with steady hands. "Yes, ma'am," she said. "I will go." "Calvin," Victoria called. "Take her to the gate. Now." Lily clutched Lena's sleeve. "No," she cried. "Don't make her go. Please, Mom." "Lily," Victoria said, not looking at her. "Upstairs. Now." Lily stared at her mother. Then she turned to Lena and hugged her tightly around the waist. "Please don't go," she whispered into Lena's uniform. "You promised to teach me how to braid my doll's hair tomorrow." Lena's throat hurt. She smoothed Lily's curls. "I always keep my promises, little star," she said. "Even if I have to keep them from the other side of a gate." Calvin picked up Lena's small suitcase. He glanced at Victoria, then at Lena, his eyes saying, "I'm sorry." Lena followed him through the back hall, past the pantry that still smelled like cinnamon, past the window where she and Lily had watched a hummingbird that morning, to the service door. When the door opened, the night came in, cool, quiet, full of crickets. The driveway lights made a long path to the iron gate. Calvin and Lena walked in silence. At the gate, he set down her suitcase and cleared his throat. "If you need help," he said softly. "Mrs. Green's house is 2 blocks down. She never sleeps early." "Thank you," Lena said. "You are kind." He hesitated. "Kindness is the only thing we can afford every day." Lena smiled, small but real. "My mother says the same." Calvin nodded, opened the gate, and stepped back. The big iron swung on its hinges with a sound like a deep sigh. Lena lifted her suitcase and took one step onto the sidewalk. Headlights swept across them, bright, sudden, sharp. A black SUV rolled up to the curb and stopped. The windows glowed. The back door opened with a quiet click. Out stepped a woman in a white blazer and low heels, the kind of person whose face you know from billboards and morning TV. Behind her came the mayor's wife, mouth set in a line that meant serious business. The TV woman's voice was gentle but strong, the kind of voice that can comfort a child and challenge a room in the same breath. "I'm looking for Lena," she said. Calvin and Lena froze. Even the crickets held their breath. Victoria, who had followed at a distance to make sure the girl truly left, stopped dead on the steps when she saw who it was. Color left her face like the tide pulling away from the shore. The TV woman turned, spotted Victoria in the driveway, and lifted a hand. "Good evening, Ms. Hale," she called. "We need to talk about what you did tonight." The iron gate stood open between the famous visitors and the boss lady. Wind moved through the bougainvillea. Somewhere, a glass chimed on a tray. Lily's small face glowed in an upstairs window, pressed to the glass, eyes wide. The mayor's wife stepped forward. "We're here for the girl," she said, "and also for the truth." Lena's fingers tightened on her suitcase handle. Victoria's mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. For the first time all evening, the house on Riverbend Lane seemed to look back at its owner and ask quietly, "Are you sure?" Calvin took a breath. What happened next would shake the night like thunder. "Lena," the TV woman said kindly, "would you please come with us?" Lena glanced from the woman to Victoria, from Calvin to the open gate, from the dark road to the bright headlights. Her heart beat like a drum calling a village to gather. She felt very small and strangely strong at the same time, like a seed that knows it will become a tree. She took one careful step forward, and the driveway behind them exploded in shouts as 3 security men rushed out, and Victoria pointed, her voice high and sharp. "Stop her! She's not going anywhere with them!" The first guard grabbed for the gate. The mayor's wife raised her hand. The TV woman reached for Lena. Calvin stepped between the guard and the girl. The night held its breath, and the house seemed to lean in to listen. Where are you watching from? Drop your city and state in the comments. Let's see our community. If this story hooked you, please like, subscribe, and share with a friend who loves powerful stories. Your support helps us keep telling tales that lift kindness and courage. Don't touch her! The TV woman's voice cracked through the night like a whip. The guards hesitated mid-step, unsure whether to obey Victoria's shrill order or the authority carried in that calm but firm command. The mayor's wife stepped forward too, her hand steady, her eyes fixed on Victoria with the fire of a mother defending a child. "Ms. Hale," she said, her voice carrying across the driveway, "if you lay one more finger on this girl, you'll regret it more than you know." The guards froze. Calvin, standing tall like a shield in front of Lena, did not move. His chest rose and fell, slow and heavy. Lena clutched her small suitcase, her knuckles white, her breath coming fast. Victoria's diamond bracelets rattled as her hands shook with fury. She had never been challenged like this, not in her house, not in her territory, not in front of strangers who dared to cut through her pride. "This is my maid," she screamed. "Mine. She will not leave with anyone unless I say so." "Wrong," the TV woman said, her voice soft but sharper than any blade. "She is a person, not a possession." The crowd that had been leaving the party began to trickle toward the gate again. Phones lifted into the air, red lights blinked as recordings began. The whisper of voices rose like a tide. "What's happening? Is that Lena? Did Victoria really?" Victoria spun, realizing too late that eyes and ears were everywhere now. The perfect image she had worked so hard to build, shattered in a single night. Lily's small hands banged against the upstairs window. "Mom, stop it! Please stop!" she cried, her face streaked with tears. The child's voice pierced deeper than the whispers of strangers, deeper than the commands of outsiders. But Victoria hardened herself. She had already started this war, and pride would not let her back down. "Guards!" she barked. "Close that gate now!" But the guards hesitated. They had seen enough. They had heard enough. They had children of their own. For a moment, nobody moved. Even the crickets fell silent. Then, out of nowhere, Mrs. Green, the old neighbor, shuffled up the sidewalk with her basket of mangoes. Her voice rang clear and strong, carrying the weight of years. "Don't you dare close that gate on her." Everyone turned. The old woman, frail but unshaken, lifted her basket high. "This girl gave me water and bread when I was faint from the sun. She is worth more than gold in that house. Shame on you, Victoria Hale. Shame." The guests gasped. The phones tilted, catching Mrs. Green's face, her mangoes, her courage. Victoria's throat tightened. Rage boiled. She lifted her chin and hissed, "You will all regret this." She pointed at Lena, her eyes blazing. "And you—" But before she could finish, a siren wailed down the street. Blue lights painted the white walls of the mansion. A police car rolled to a stop by the gate. 2 officers stepped out, tall and steady. "Is there a problem here?" one asked. His voice was calm, but his hand rested on his belt in warning. The TV woman stepped forward. "Yes, there's a problem. This young maid was publicly humiliated by her employer tonight. We're here to protect her." Victoria's mouth opened, but the crowd spoke faster.
She cut her hair. We all saw it. It was cruel. It's on video. Phones waved in the night like torches in a dark cave. The officers turned to Victoria. "Ma'am, we'll need you to calm down," one said. Victoria's knees trembled. She wasn't used to orders. She was used to giving them. Her perfect night had collapsed into a battlefield where even her own guards would not defend her. The other officer crouched near Lena. "Are you all right, miss?" Lena swallowed hard. "Yes," she whispered. "I'm all right."
But her heart was not steady. The truth was, she had no idea what came next. She had stepped into a storm bigger than her, and though people were standing around her now, protecting her, the question burned like fire in her chest. What will happen to me? Where will I go? The mayor's wife placed her hand on Lena's shoulder, firm and kind. "Don't worry, child. Tonight is not your ending. Tonight is the beginning." And with those words, the gate stood open, truly open, for the first time in years. The path before Lena glowed under the headlights, full of fear and hope at once. She took one step forward. And just then, Victoria's phone rang. Loud, sharp, urgent. She looked down at the screen, her face draining of color. Whoever was calling her at that hour was not a friend. It was someone whose voice could turn her entire world upside down. Her hand shook as she answered. The entire driveway went silent, leaning in to hear. What she heard made her knees buckle. Her diamond earring fell to the ground with a soft clink. The words on the other end of the call were about to change everything. "Where are you watching from? Drop your city and state in the comments. Let's connect with our community. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story with a friend who loves powerful tales. Your support keeps these stories alive." Victoria's voice trembled as she pressed the phone to her ear. The crowd at the gate leaned forward, eyes wide, straining to hear the other side of the conversation. Her lips parted, and the words slipped out like stones dropping into a well. "What? Frozen accounts? No, that's impossible." The silence in the driveway broke with gasps. Victoria staggered back against the stone wall, one hand gripping it for support. "I gave clear instructions," she shouted into the phone. "You can't do this to me tonight. Do you know who I am?" But whatever the voice on the other end said drained the last bit of color from her face. The phone slipped from her hand, clattering against the marble steps. Her diamond earring lay forgotten in the grass. Lena, still holding her small suitcase, stared in shock. She didn't understand everything, but she felt the weight of the moment. Victoria, the untouchable boss lady who had humiliated her, suddenly looked small, terrified even. The police officers exchanged glances. The mayor's wife stepped closer to Lena, her arm firm around the girl's shoulder. "Do you see now?" she whispered, her voice low but steady. "Power that is built on cruelty will always crumble." Victoria turned on her heel, her hair coming loose from its pins. "Everyone out!" she barked. "The party is over. Get off my property now!" But her voice cracked, and the authority that used to chill the air now sounded hollow. The guests did not move. Phones kept recording. The TV woman's voice cut through the chaos. "Ms. Hale, what happened to your accounts?" Victoria's eyes darted toward her. "None of your business," she spat. But it was too late. The whispers rose like a tide. "She's broke? All that show and no money? Maybe that's why she's so cruel to her staff." Victoria's chest heaved as the humiliation spread like wildfire. She had cut Lena's hair to tear her down, but now her own reputation was unraveling before the entire town. Lily's small voice came again from the upstairs window. "Mom," she cried, "please stop. Please." Victoria covered her face with her hands. For the first time, she didn't know what to do. Pride had been her shield, but tonight, it was shattered. Lena stood frozen, caught between fear and pity. She had been hurt deeply, but her heart was too soft to feel only triumph at her boss's downfall. She thought of her mother's words, "Kindness is a seed. Even when the ground looks barren, it may still grow." The mayor's wife touched Lena's shoulder. "Come with us, dear. You're safe now. You don't belong in this house of cruelty." Lena hesitated. Her suitcase felt heavy. Her heart felt heavier. She glanced back at Victoria, at the woman who had cut her braids, who had humiliated her, who now stood trembling in front of everyone like a fallen queen. And then, before Lena could take a step forward, the iron gate screeched again. Another car pulled up. Sleek, black, powerful. The kind of car that made people whisper before they even saw who was inside. The door opened slowly. Out stepped a tall man in a gray suit with sharp eyes and a calm, commanding presence. His tie was midnight blue, his shoes polished to a mirror shine. The crowd's whispers turned into murmurs of recognition. "It's him," someone gasped. "No, it can't be. Why would he be here?" Victoria's head snapped up, her eyes wide with fear. She clutched the wall as if it could hold her together. The man's gaze swept over the scene, the fallen hair by the fountain, the crowd with their phones, the police, the open gate, and finally Lena, standing with her suitcase. His eyes softened when they landed on her. "Lena," he said, his voice deep and steady, "I've been looking for you." The entire driveway erupted in shock. Victoria staggered forward. "No, no, this can't be happening," she muttered. "Not tonight. Not to me." But it was happening. And the truth that man carried with him would tear open secrets that Victoria had fought for years to bury. Lena's breath caught in her throat. Her knees trembled. Who was this man? And why was he looking for her? Where are you watching from? Drop your city and state in the comments so we can see how far our storytelling family reaches. And if you're hooked already, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. The night air grew heavier, like the sky itself was leaning closer to listen. Every phone stayed up, every whisper turned into silence. Lena's pulse thudded in her ears as the tall man in the gray suit took a step forward. His gaze never left her face. "Lena," he repeated, his tone steady, almost protective. "I've searched for you for years." Lena's throat tightened. Her lips parted, but no words came out. She clutched her suitcase to her chest like a shield. Why would a man of such presence, someone strangers recognized with awe, be searching for me? Victoria's face twisted with panic. "You don't know what you're saying," she snapped, her voice too high. She moved quickly, placing herself between the man and Lena. "She's just a maid, nothing more. You must be mistaken." But the man didn't look at Victoria. He looked straight through her, his eyes locked on Lena. "Mistakes don't last this long," he said. "Not when the truth keeps pulling you back." The mayor's wife glanced at him sharply. "And who exactly are you?" The man reached into his coat pocket and drew out a leather wallet. With a flick, he opened it, revealing an embossed seal that glittered under the driveway lights. The crowd gasped. The police officers stiffened instantly. "Oh my God," someone whispered. "He's federal." "This is bigger than we thought." Victoria staggered back as if struck. "No, no, you can't." But the man cut her off. "I can, and I will." He turned to Lena again. "You've been living under someone else's shadow far too long. It's time you learned why." Lena's voice finally broke through her trembling lips. "Why? What?" she asked. "Why are you looking for me?" The man's eyes softened. "Because, Lena, you are not who you think you are." He paused, letting the words hang in the air. "You are the daughter of someone very important, someone Victoria Hale has worked very hard to erase from your life." The crowd erupted with shocked gasps. Nora, the head housekeeper, clapped her hand over her mouth. Lily's little face disappeared from the upstairs window, then reappeared again, her eyes round with confusion. Victoria lunged forward, her hands shaking. "Stop talking! Stop now!" she screamed. "You don't know what you're saying. She belongs here. She is mine." But the man's eyes flashed with steel. "She never belonged to you, Victoria. You took advantage of a child who should have had more than you could ever give. And now..." He glanced at the mayor's wife, then the police. "Now the truth is coming out." Lena's knees buckled, the ground tilted. Nora rushed forward and steadied her by the arm. "Breathe, child," she whispered. "Just breathe." Victoria's mask cracked completely. The elegant boss lady who ruled Riverbend Lane now looked like a wild animal cornered in front of her prey. "Lies!" she shouted, her voice raw. "All lies! She's nothing but a stray girl I pitied." But the crowd didn't believe her anymore. The neighbors, the guests, the staff, they had seen too much cruelty, too much pride. The sight of Lena kneeling at the fountain, her braids cut to the ground, still burned in their minds. And now this man's words struck like thunder against the fragile wall of Victoria's lies. The man in gray turned back to Lena, his voice low, almost gentle now. "You've suffered enough in this house. Come with me and I'll show you everything Victoria tried to hide. But you must be brave. The truth will change everything." Lena's chest rose and fell with shaky breaths. She wanted to ask 1,000 questions. Who am I really? Why me? What truth? But fear locked her tongue. And then, suddenly, Victoria lunged. With a burst of desperation, she grabbed Lena by the arm, her nails digging in. "You're not going anywhere," she shrieked. "You are mine, do you hear me? Mine." The police surged forward. Calvin stepped between them. The crowd gasped. Phones zoomed in, and just as Victoria yanked Lena toward her with shocking force, Lily's scream pierced the night. "Mom, let her go." The sound of the little girl's cry cut sharper than the scissors had. Everyone froze, even Victoria. Her grip loosened for a split second, and in that split second, something happened that no one in the driveway could have imagined. Where are you watching from? Drop your city and state in the comments. I'd love to know where my storytelling family is tuning in. And if you're hooked by this shocking twist, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you won't miss. The scream echoed through the night like a thunderclap. Lily's voice, small yet powerful, shattered the spell of chaos. For a moment, even the wind seemed to pause. "Mom, let her go!" Lily cried again, her fists pounding the glass of the upstairs window. Her little face was twisted with fury, her cheeks red with tears. Victoria froze. Her fingers, still clamped around Lena's arm, trembled. For the first time, shame flickered in her eyes. Not from the crowd, not from the cameras, but from her own child's voice. "Lily," she whispered, her throat tightening. That hesitation was all it took. Calvin, strong and fast, stepped forward and pulled Lena free from Victoria's grasp. The police closed in, one officer taking Victoria by the wrist. "Ma'am, that's enough," he said firmly. The crowd erupted. Some gasped in relief, others cheered. Phones tilted, capturing every angle. Victoria jerked against the officer's grip. "Don't touch me, don't you dare touch me," she shouted, but the once commanding tone now sounded desperate, broken. Lena stumbled back, clutching her arm where Victoria's nails had left red marks. Her eyes brimmed with tears, but not of weakness, of shock, of exhaustion, of a storm that had gone on too long. Nora rushed to her side, steadying her once again. "It's all right, child," she murmured. "You're safe now." The man in the gray suit stepped closer. His presence quieted the crowd instantly. "Lena," he said, his deep voice steady, "you deserve to know the truth." He reached into his inner pocket and pulled out a folded envelope. The paper was old, the edges yellowed. "This belonged to your father." The crowd gasped. Lena's eyes widened. "My father?" "Yes," the man said, his gaze locking with hers. "A man of honor, who loved you. But he was taken from this world too soon. Before he died, he left instructions, letters, documents that were hidden from you, hidden by Victoria Hale." All eyes turned to Victoria. She thrashed against the officer's grip, her face twisted in rage. "Lies, all lies. She was nothing. Nothing but a burden I took in." The mayor's wife's voice cut through, sharp as glass. "Then why, Victoria, did you try so hard to keep her invisible? Why cut her hair tonight in front of all these people? Because you feared her light would outshine yours." Whispers spread like wildfire. She hid the girl's family? Her father left her something? Victoria knew all along. The man unfolded the envelope carefully. Inside was a letter, the handwriting neat but slightly faded. He didn't read it aloud yet. Instead, he held it where Lena could see. "This is yours, not hers. It's time you learned who you truly are." Lena's fingers trembled as she reached for it. Her heart pounded. She felt the weight of 1,000 eyes, of a truth bigger than her shoulders. She touched the paper, but before she could take it, Victoria let out a piercing scream. "No! She can't have it!" With a sudden violent shove, she broke free from the officer's grip, lunged forward, and snatched the letter from the man's hand. The crowd gasped in unison. "Victoria!" the officer barked. Victoria clutched the letter to her chest like a madwoman. "She doesn't deserve this. She doesn't deserve anything. Everything in this house is mine." The man's voice dropped low, calm but dangerous. "Victoria, if you destroy that letter, you will destroy the last chance to save yourself." But Victoria's eyes burned with pride so blinding it made her deaf. With trembling hands, she raised the letter, and in front of everyone, she tore it straight down the middle. The crowd screamed. Phones shook in hands. Nora cried out, "No!" Lena staggered back as if struck, the one link to her father, her past, ripped apart in the hands of the woman who had humiliated her. Her knees buckled. She nearly fell. But then, something shocking happened. The wind, sudden and fierce, caught the torn pieces. They lifted from Victoria's hands, swirling into the night sky like white birds escaping a cage. The pieces scattered across the driveway, some falling into the fountain, some at Lena's feet. And on one piece that landed right before Lena, bold words remained clear under the garden lights. "To my beloved daughter, Lena." The truth could not be silenced, not even by fire, not even by fury. The man in gray looked at Victoria with cold finality. "You've only proven what we all knew. The truth is bigger than you." Victoria collapsed to her knees, sobbing and wild. The crowd pressed closer, their whispers turning to outrage. Lily sobbed at the window, pounding her fists against the glass. And Lena, her hands shaking, picked up the piece of paper at her feet, clutching it to her chest. For the first time that night, she stood taller, her tears burning with a new kind of strength. But just as she straightened, headlights flared again at the gate. Another car pulled in, sleek and black. The crowd turned, confused. The man in gray stiffened. His jaw tightened. "Not them," he muttered. The doors opened, and figures stepped out who would bring a new storm none of them were ready for. Where are you watching from? Drop your city and state in the comments. Let's light up the map with our storytelling family. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story if you're feeling the suspense. More shocking truth is coming next. Engines hummed low as the second sleek black car rolled to a stop at the gate. Its doors opened slowly, deliberately, as though the people inside wanted the entire world to watch their arrival. 3 figures stepped out. The first was a tall woman in a crimson dress, her heels clicking against the stone like a drumbeat. Her face was sharp, her smile thin, her eyes full of secrets. The second was a man with a wide build, dressed in all black, carrying a briefcase. His jaw was set, his stare unflinching. The third, a younger woman with a notebook pressed to her chest and a camera slung across her shoulder, looked ready to record every detail. The crowd murmured in confusion. "Who are they? Press? Lawyers?" The man in the gray suit stiffened, his hands curling into fists. His voice dropped low. "They shouldn't be here." Victoria's sobs choked off as soon as she saw the crimson-dressed woman. Her eyes widened in disbelief. "You?" she whispered, crawling backward across the driveway like she was facing a ghost. "No, it can't be you." The crimson-dressed woman smiled, a smile that did not reach her eyes. "Hello, Victoria. Did you really think you could bury everything forever?" Her voice was smooth as silk but cold as ice. She turned to Lena. "And you? We've been waiting for this night." Lena's heart lurched. "Waiting? For me?" The briefcase man stepped forward. "We have documents," he said in a deep, steady voice. He snapped the locks open with a metallic click that made the crowd flinch. "Records, bank accounts, property deeds, and most importantly," he lifted a folder thick with papers, "a will." The entire crowd gasped. Nora whispered under her breath, "Dear Lord." Victoria screamed, stumbling to her feet. "No, that will was destroyed years ago. It can't exist." The young woman with the camera raised it and snapped a photo. Click, the flash cutting through the night. "Oh, it exists," she said softly. "And now, so does proof of what you did to hide it." Lena felt the ground shift beneath her. A will. Records. A father she barely remembered. And now strangers who seemed to know more about her than she did herself. She pressed the torn piece of her father's letter tighter against her chest, her breathing quick and shallow. The man in the gray suit stepped between Lena and the newcomers. "This isn't your stage," he growled. "Back off. She's under my protection." The crimson-dressed woman tilted her head and laughed, a sound too calm for the storm unfolding. "Protection? Don't be naive. This girl isn't just a victim, and she's not just a maid. She's the rightful heir to something far larger than you've told her. And if she doesn't know it soon..." She trailed off, her gaze cutting toward Victoria like a blade. "Others will." The crowd buzzed louder, whispers swirling like a tornado. "Heir? What does she mean? Who is Lena really?" Victoria lunged forward again, her hair wild, her voice breaking. "She's nothing. Do you hear me? Nothing." But the words no longer landed. They bounced off empty air, ignored by the witnesses who had seen too much. The briefcase man handed the thick folder to the police officer, who opened it cautiously under the garden lights. His brows furrowed deeper with every page. Finally, he looked up, his eyes grave. This changes everything." The mayor's wife leaned close, peering at the papers. Her hand flew to her mouth. "Oh my goodness," she whispered. She turned to Lena, her voice shaking with awe. "Child, do you know what this means?" Lena shook her head, her braids gone but her spirit trembling with new weight. "No, I don't understand." The crimson-dressed woman's smile widened. "It means, Lena, you are not just the daughter of a good man. You are the heir to his empire, his wealth, his name." She leaned in slightly, her eyes glinting. "Everything Victoria stole belongs to you." The crowd gasped in unison. Phones zoomed in closer. Nora's knees nearly buckled. Calvin muttered a prayer under his breath. Victoria let out a raw, animal scream and rushed at the woman in crimson, her nails bared like claws. "You liar! You snake!" But before she could reach her, 2 more officers grabbed her by the arms and held her back. The guests backed away, their whispers rising into full-blown shouts of disbelief. Lily cried harder at the window, her little voice piercing the noise. "Mommy, stop! Please stop!" The man in gray placed a firm hand on Lena's shoulder. "Listen to me," he said quickly, his voice urgent now. "The truth is out, but the battle isn't over. If you step forward now, your life will never be the same." Lena's breath caught. Her heart thundered. Her hand clenched the torn piece of paper. Her father's words still clear. "To my beloved daughter, Lena." She looked at the crimson-dressed woman, at the briefcase man, at the camera clicking in the young woman's hands. She looked at Victoria thrashing in the grip of the officers. She looked at Lily, crying helplessly in the window. And she realized that the choice would soon be hers. But just as she opened her mouth to speak, the sound of shattering glass ripped through the night. Everyone turned toward the house. Lily was gone from the window. Where are you watching from? Drop your city and state in the comments. I'd love to see how far our storytelling family stretches. And if you're gripped by this twist, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, so more people can join the journey. The crash of glass rang through the night, scattering the whispers of the crowd into screams. Every head turned upward toward the second floor of the mansion, where shards of glass sparkled in the driveway lights like falling stars. "Lily!" Lena gasped, her heart leaping into her throat. The small figure of the girl stood at the broken window, her nightdress fluttering in the wind. Her little face was pale, streaked with tears. "Leave Lena alone!" she shouted, her voice trembling but brave. "If you hurt her again, I'll jump." The crowd froze in horror. Someone screamed. Phones shook in hands. Victoria, still restrained by the officers, let out a blood-curdling cry. "Lily! No! Don't you dare!" She thrashed wildly, her hair falling from its pins. For the first time, it wasn't pride or money in her voice. It was terror. "Get her back inside!" the mayor's wife shouted, her hand clutching her chest. "She's just a child!" One officer bolted toward the house, while Calvin sprinted to the gate and around the side yard, his long legs eating the ground in desperate strides. Nora clasped her hands together, whispering prayers under her breath, her lips shaking. Lena's legs moved before her mind did. She dropped her suitcase and ran straight into the driveway, calling out, "Lily, don't do this! Please, I'm here!" The girl's sobs carried down like rain. They'll hurt you again. I won't let them." "No one's going to hurt me anymore," Lena cried back, her arms lifted as though she could catch Lily from the ground. "I promise. But I need you safe. Do you hear me? I need you alive, Lily. Don't give them more power by hurting yourself." The man in gray turned, his voice urgent. "Keep her talking, Lena. Don't let her feel alone." The crimson-dressed woman folded her arms, her sharp eyes softening just for a moment as she looked up. The child's loyalty is dangerous, but pure. Victoria's screams filled the night. "Lily, get back from that window now. Mommy's here." But Lily shook her head violently. "You're not the mom I want right now," she sobbed. "Lena is." The words sliced through Victoria like a blade. She collapsed against the officers holding her, her knees giving out, her strength gone. A hush fell across the crowd, heavy and heartbreaking. Lena's tears spilled freely now, her voice breaking. "Lily, please, don't let the world lose your light because of me. If you jump, everything I've fought tonight means nothing. Please come back down to me. We'll fix this together, I promise." The girl's tiny hands clutched the frame of the broken window. Her knuckles were white. Her body trembled. "You promise you won't leave me?" she cried. Lena pressed a hand over her heart. "I swear it, Lily. I'll never leave you. Even if I have to sleep on the street, I'll come find you every day. You're my little sister now." The words, simple, pure, hit the child like sunlight through storm clouds. Her sobs softened. Her grip on the window loosened. For the first time since she had smashed the glass, her wide eyes blinked with hope. "Little sister," she whispered. The officer inside the house edged closer, whispering through the broken glass. "It's okay, sweetheart. Come with me. Just one step back." The crowd held its breath. The night seemed to balance on a needle's edge. And then, slowly, shakily, Lily stepped away from the window. Relief rippled through the crowd like a wave. People clapped, cried, prayed aloud. Nora fell to her knees, tears streaming down her cheeks. The mayor's wife pressed her palms together, whispering, "Thank God." But the moment of relief shattered almost instantly, because as Lily disappeared back into the shadows of the room, a new sound rose from inside the house. A door slamming open, heavy boots pounding on the floor. Shouts, struggles. The officer's voice rang out, muffled but sharp. "Who are you? Put that down." The crowd froze again, terror sliding back into their bones. The man in gray stiffened, his hand darting under his jacket. "No," he muttered. "Not tonight. Not them." The crimson-dressed woman's smile returned, sharp and knowing. "Oh yes," she whispered. "Exactly them." A figure appeared in the broken window, silhouetted against the dim light inside. It wasn't Lily this time. It was a man, broad-shouldered, his face hidden in shadow, holding something glinting in his hand, and the way he looked down at Lena made her blood run cold. "Where are you watching from?" Drop your city and state in the comments. I'd love to see how far this story has reached. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if this suspense has you hooked. The storm is only getting darker. The shadow in the window loomed larger under the broken frame. The driveway lights caught the gleam of metal in his hand, a knife. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Mothers pulled their children close, phones trembled, and the officers on the ground reached for their weapons. "Drop it!" one of them shouted, his voice ringing against the stone walls. But the man in the window only grinned, his teeth flashing like a wolf's. "Too late," he growled. His eyes swept over the crowd until they landed squarely on Lena. "I came for her." Lena froze, her breath caught in her chest, her arms instinctively wrapped around herself, her body trembling. Why me?" she whispered. The man in gray stepped forward, his hand pressed firmly against Lena's shoulder as if anchoring her. "Because she's the key," he muttered grimly. Then louder, toward the intruder, "You have no claim here. Put the weapon down and walk away while you still can." The crimson-dressed woman's smile deepened, as if she had been waiting for this very moment. "I told you," she purred, her eyes never leaving Lena. "The girl isn't just anyone. She carries more power than she knows. And now, everyone wants a piece of it." Victoria's head snapped up from where she was being held by the officers. Her face twisted in horror when she recognized the shadowy man. "No, not you. You promised this would never come to light." Her voice cracked with panic. The crowd erupted with confused murmurs. She knows him? What is going on? The intruder's voice thundered from the window. You thought you could keep her hidden, Victoria? Thought you could make her small? But no, she's mine to claim now. Her father's blood runs through her veins, and that blood belongs to me. Lena's stomach dropped. My father? Her voice was barely audible, fragile and uncertain. The man in gray cursed under his breath. Lena, don't listen to him. He's twisting the truth. Your father was an honorable man. This one, he pointed up at the shadow, betrayed him, and now he wants to use you to finish what he started. Victoria thrashed wildly against the officers, restraining her, desperation tearing through her pride. Don't let him take her. He'll ruin everything. The crimson-dressed woman laughed, the sound cold and sharp. Oh, Victoria, you ruined everything the moment you put scissors to that girl's head. The world saw your cruelty. Now the world will see the truth. The intruder leaned farther out the window, his knife glinting. Enough talk. Send her inside, or I swear this night will end in blood. The crowd screamed. The officers raised their weapons, their voices overlapping. Drop the knife. Step away from the window. The man in gray pulled Lena behind him, shielding her completely. You're not touching her, he roared. But the intruder only sneered. Then, with terrifying speed, he turned and disappeared from the window. Shouts erupted inside the house, boots pounding, furniture crashing. Lena clutched Nora's arm, her heart racing. He's inside, he's looking for me. And then, as if to prove her words, the front door of the mansion slammed open. The intruder stormed out, knife flashing in the driveway lights. His eyes burned like coals as he charged down the steps. The crowd scattered in panic. People screamed, stumbling over each other to escape. The officers aimed their weapons, shouting commands. Lena's world narrowed to the glint of that knife, the pounding of her heart, and the voice in her head that whispered her mother's words. Kindness is a seed, but sometimes seeds must fight through stone to live. The man in gray stepped forward to block the path, his stance steady. You'll have to go through me first, the intruder snarled. Gladly. The two men collided at the foot of the steps, the knife slashing, fists flying, the sound of bone against bone echoing through the night. The crowd screamed louder, some filming, some fleeing. Lena's suitcase lay forgotten by the gate. The torn piece of her father's letter trembled in her hand, and as the fight raged, a terrifying realization struck her. The intruder wasn't just after her. He wanted the papers in the briefcase, the will, the proof of who she truly was. If he got them, her future would vanish before it even began. Where are you watching from? Drop your city and state in the comments. Let's see how wide our storytelling family stretches. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story if your heart is pounding right now. The next twist is going to leave you speechless. The clash at the foot of the mansion steps was thunder and lightning in human form. The man in gray and the intruder slammed into each other, fists flying, knife flashing under the garden lights. The crowd screamed, some ducking behind cars, others too shocked to move. Phones still pointed, recording every violent second. Drop the weapon! An officer bellowed, but the intruder's rage drowned out reason. He swung the knife in a wide arc, narrowly missing the gray-suited man's chest. Metal sparked as the blade struck the stone railing instead. Lena pressed herself against Nora, her heart hammering so hard she thought it might burst. The torn piece of her father's letter was still clenched in her fist, damp with sweat and tears. This is happening because of me, she thought. They're fighting because of me. The intruder roared, You think you can protect her? You think you can stop me? His eyes glowed with madness as he swung again. That girl carries my brother's blood, and that means she carries mine, too. The words hit Lena like a lightning strike. Her knees went weak. Brother? She whispered. The man in gray blocked the blade with his forearm, wincing as blood sprang across his sleeve. Don't twist the truth, he spat, shoving the intruder back. Your brother was her father, yes, but you betrayed him. You're no family to this girl. You're a vulture feeding on what isn't yours. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Nora staggered back, clutching her chest. Her uncle? She whispered in disbelief. Victoria, still restrained by officers, let out a strangled sob. Her mascara streaked down her face as she shrieked, "Stop it! Don't you dare tell her! She's not ready!" Lena's hands shook violently. Uncle? Betrayal? The words spun in her mind like leaves in a storm. She wanted answers, but fear strangled her voice. The crimson-dressed woman stepped forward, her voice calm amid the chaos. "Yes, Lena. That man in the window, the one with the knife, is your father's younger brother. He should have protected you when your father died. Instead, he tried to seize everything for himself. And when he couldn't, he left you to rot under Victoria's cruelty." The intruder's face twisted with rage. "Shut your mouth," he bellowed, lunging again at the gray-suited man. But this time, the man in gray moved faster. With a sudden twist, he grabbed the intruder's wrist, slammed it against the stone, and sent the knife clattering across the driveway. The crowd erupted in cheers and gasps as the weapon spun away. "Grab it!" someone shouted. Calvin sprinted forward, scooping the knife up and tossing it aside. The intruder snarled, charging barehanded now. He slammed into the man in gray, the two grappling violently, crashing into the fountain. Water splashed high into the air, drenching them both. The fight was primal, one fueled by duty, the other by greed. Lena stepped forward instinctively, her voice trembling but fierce. "Stop!" she cried. "Stop this! I don't want more blood on my name!" But the men didn't stop. The intruder pinned the gray-suited man under the water, his face twisted with fury. "If I can't have the fortune, neither can you!" he roared. The crowd screamed. Officers rushed forward. Lena's breath caught in her throat. "He's going to kill him." With strength she didn't know she had, Lena ran toward the fountain. Nora screamed after her, "Child, no!" But Lena didn't stop. Her bare hands plunged into the water, clawing at the intruder's arm. "Let him go!" she cried, tears streaming down her face. "I don't care about fortunes, I just care about truth." The intruder froze for a split second, his nephew's blood flashing in her eyes. That pause was all the gray-suited man needed. He shoved upward, twisting hard, and with a mighty heave sent the intruder sprawling across the marble. The officers pounced, wrestling the intruder to the ground, cuffing his hands behind his back as he spat and cursed. "You fools! You don't understand. That girl will destroy you all." The words echoed through the night, chilling everyone to their core. Victoria collapsed to the driveway, sobbing uncontrollably. Her pride gone, her secrets spilled into the open. Lily's small face reappeared in the broken window upstairs, eyes wide with fear and confusion. And Lena, drenched, shaking, clutching the soaked piece of her father's letter, looked at the man in gray. "Is it true?" she whispered. "Was that my uncle?" The man's wet hair clung to his forehead, his chest heaving. He nodded once, solemnly. "Yes, Lena. And he's not the only family secret Victoria kept from you." The crowd gasped again. Nora's hand flew to her mouth. Calvin's jaw tightened. Lena's world spun. "Not the only?" she whispered. The crimson-dressed woman's eyes glittered like fire in the dark. "No, child. There is more. Much more. And when you hear it, you'll finally understand why Victoria Hale feared you more than anyone alive." The crowd leaned in, the night stretching with unbearable suspense. Where are you watching from? Drop your city and state in the comments. I love seeing our storytelling family grow. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you're holding your breath with every twist. The biggest secret is about to be revealed. The driveway had turned into a stage of truth where masks were ripped away and lies scattered like broken glass. The intruder, Lena's uncle, thrashed on the ground, his wrists bound in steel cuffs. His face was twisted with rage, but his words echoed in everyone's ears. "That girl will destroy you all." Lena's knees shook. She stood barefoot on the wet marble near the fountain, her dress clinging to her from the splashes. The torn piece of her father's letter was still pressed to her chest, now wrinkled and soaked. Her eyes moved from the man in gray to the crimson-dressed woman to Victoria, broken, kneeling in the dirt with mascara streaks like war paint. Her voice trembled. "Tell me. All of it. No more secrets." The man in gray lowered his head. He looked tired now, as if carrying years of battles no one else could see. "Lena, your father was a man of honor. He built something great, not just wealth, but hope for people in this city. A company, charities, schools. He left it in your name. You were meant to inherit everything, to carry his light forward." Lena gasped. "But why didn't I know? Why was I left here?" The crimson-dressed woman stepped closer, her voice sharp but strangely kind. Because Victoria and your uncle conspired. They feared you. If the world knew you were the heir, their greed would be exposed. So they buried you in plain sight, hiding you as a maid under Victoria's thumb, making sure you never rose. The crowd buzzed like a hive. She's the heir? All that time, working as a servant? How cruel. Victoria let out a bitter laugh, broken and jagged. Yes, I did it. I kept her down. Do you know what it's like to live in the shadow of someone else's child? To watch all the riches promised to you slip away to a girl who wasn't even born when the deals were made? Her eyes blazed as she pointed at Lena. I cut your hair because I wanted the world to see you plain, ugly, powerless. But the truth? I was afraid of what you really are. The words hit Lena harder than any scissors. She staggered back, her breath coming fast. But then, softly, from the broken window upstairs, Lily's small voice called down, Lena, you're not ugly. You're my sunshine. Tears welled in Lena's eyes. The child's words wrapped around her heart like a shield, stronger than Victoria's cruelty, stronger than her uncle's threats. The man in gray placed a hand on her shoulder. The choice is yours now, Lena. The documents prove it. The witnesses are here. You can step into your inheritance, claim your father's empire, and end their reign of cruelty once and for all. But it means leaving behind the life you knew. It means carrying a heavy weight. The crimson-dressed woman's eyes gleamed. You are the heir. No one can deny it now. The only question is, what will you do with the power? Lena's hands shook. Her heart thundered. She thought of her mother's words. Kindness is a seed. It grows where no one expects. She thought of Nora's steady care, Calvin's quiet loyalty, Mrs. Green's mangoes, and little Lily's innocent laughter. She thought of the humiliation she had endured, her braids falling to the ground, and how that pain had led here to this moment of truth. She stepped forward, her voice stronger than it had ever been. I will take what my father left me. Not for pride, not for greed, but to build what he wanted, a world where kindness rises higher than cruelty. I won't be your victim anymore. I'll be his daughter. The crowd erupted in cheers, their voices carrying into the night. Phones captured the moment, flashes lighting up Lena's tear-streaked face like stars. Nora clapped her hands together, sobbing with joy. Calvin's lips curved in a rare smile. Victoria screamed, lunging forward, but the officers held her tight. No, she can't win, she can't, she howled, her voice breaking until it dissolved into sobs. Her diamond bracelet slid from her wrists, falling into the dirt. The intruder thrashed against his cuffs, his eyes burning. This isn't over, girl. Blood like ours only brings ruin. You'll regret this. But his threats were drowned out by the cheers of the people, the flashing lights of police cars, and the voice of the mayor's wife declaring, Justice has come tonight. Lily burst out of the front door, running barefoot across the lawn. She threw her small arms around Lena's waist, holding her tight. Don't leave me, she whispered through tears. Lena knelt, hugging her back with all the strength she had left. Never, she whispered. You're my little sister now. Wherever I go, you go. The man in gray looked on, his weary eyes softening with pride. The crimson-dressed woman nodded once, satisfied. And the crowd, neighbors, guests, strangers, clapped louder, their voices rising into the night like a song of freedom. For the first time, Lena stood not as a maid, not as a shadow, but as herself, strong, true, unbroken. The house on Riverbend Lane, once a cage, now seemed to breathe differently, as if even its walls had been waiting for this night. The girl whose hair had been cut to shame her had risen higher than any crown, and though battles still lay ahead, one truth burned clear. Kindness had won. Where are you watching from? Drop your city and state in the comments so we can see our storytelling family shine across the map. If this ending moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. More powerful tales are coming, and you don't want to miss them.